Death at Rottingdean, Chapter 18. Shopping is very demonstrative. Lord Melbourne to Queen Victoria. A woman's guess is much more accurate than a man's certainty. Rudyard Kipling, Plain Tales from the Hills. It was hardly the usual thing, Kate thought, as she put on her tweed jacket and pinned her felt walking hat securely to her massed hair, that a seaside village so small as Rottingdean and so near to a major city should have a dress shop. Most ladies able to afford a smart gown would travel to London to buy it ready to wear in one of the large department stores in Regent Street, or hire a local dressmaker to construct it for her from a pattern in the Ladies' Monthly Review or the Metropolitan Catalogue. But having talked to Mrs. Portney, Kate was coming to suspect that there were many unusual things about Rottingdean, and she was curious to investigate this one. Ladies' Fashions for Fashionable Ladies had a wide bow window level with the street, which displayed a sample of the wares to be found within. Kate paused in front of the window, surprised by what she saw. At the left stood a handsome mannequin figure with a wax head and wax hands, dressed in an elegantly tailored green moire gown with huge leg or mutton sleeves and a fashionable gored skirt trimmed in black ribbon. Every bit as fine as a similar gown Kate had recently seen at Harrods. Beside it stood a milliner's hat stand with an elaborate blonde coiffure, on which was displayed a delectable green hat trimmed with an epaulets of green and black feathers, and in the folds of velvet window drapery stood a pair of fetching black boots, black elbow-length kid gloves, and a pair of black cashmere ribbed hosiery, and a green moire-covered purse. Kate lingered for a moment, thoughtfully calculating the total cost of the items and weighing the probability that such fashionable goods might be found so elaborately displayed in an ordinary seashore resort. But as there was more to be learned within than without, she pushed the door open and went in. A slender brown-haired woman in a simple blue merino dress was standing behind a counter to the left of the door, folding in the length of fabric she had just cut from a bolt of grey watered silk. Scissors in hand, she looked up with a smile that Kate thought seemed anxiously hopeful. Perhaps she had not had many customers today, or perhaps this week. "Good afternoon, madam," the woman said, and smoothed her hair back with her hand. "May I help you?" "Good afternoon," Kate said, going to the counter. "I am Lady Sheridan. Miss Portney at Seabrook House, where my husband and I are holidaying, has told me that Mrs. Howard has a selection of laces here. I am looking for something that might be suitable for a dressing gown. A Chantilly, perhaps, or Valenciennes." "Of course, my lady," the woman said, and Kate thought the overtone of eagerness. Yes, there could not have been many customers today, and the woman was anxious for a sale. She turned to put up the bolt. "I am Mrs. Howard, if your ladyship would be pleased to step to the rear. You may see my laces. I have quite a fine variety." As Kate followed the woman toward the back of the shop, she looked around. The shop itself did not quite have the elegance promised by the front window, but it came very near. Along one wall were shelves that held bolts of practical cottons, warm tweeds, smart wools, and stylish silks artfully arranged to disguise the fact that the selection was rather small. Pinned to the shelves were drawings illustrating the latest fashions in skirts, waists, and sleeves, and another wall displayed trimmings of braid, fringe, fur, and feathers. On a counter nearby were several hats, including a narrow-brimmed white straw boater trimmed in green silk cord with a single green tulle rose. "Oh, what a sweet hat!" Kate cried, although in truth she was not terribly fond of boaters. "I simply must have it." "It suits you very well, my lady." Mrs. Howard smiled. "I'm glad you like it, for I made it." "You are a milliner, then?" Kate asked. She took off her own hat and set the straw one on her head at a rakish angle. "And the dressmaker," Miss Howard said, handing Kate a mirror. "Oh, how becoming! If your ladyship will forgive the presumption, your hair is so lovely and so warm a colour that a fussy hat would detract from it. You should always wear something simple." "Well, I shall certainly wear this," Kate said, turning her head to admire herself in the mirror. "I must say, Mrs. Howard, that I'm quite surprised to find a shop of this quality in such a rural village." Miss Howard smiled, showing uneven teeth. "It was opened just last month. Rottingdean has seen an increasing number of day trippers down from London and over from Brighton, and now that the electric railway is in operation, frankly I thought to take advantage of the growing number of shoppers who are visiting the village." "You must not apologize for having good business sense," Kate replied. "A great many women would envy your courage in striking out on your own. I wish you every success." "Thank you, your ladyship," Miss Howard said, although I must admit she bit her lip. But you're looking for laces, he gestured at a display of samples. I have narrow edging lace for hems, embroidered lace for insets and sleeves, gathered and pleated lace, and some quite fine Valenciennes and Mechlin laces, imported from France, and here is the chantilly and a lovely Maltese guayper. What a selection, Kate cried admiringly. She fingered the samples at length, although she had never had much interest in such things and hated to spend money frivolously. I shall of course have the chantilly. It is exactly what I'm looking for. 10 yards, please. 10 yards? Miss Howard's eyes widened. But I shall of course wish to pay you today, Kate said smoothly. I find that is such a nuisance to ask his lordship to handle my dressmaking accounts. She waved her gloved hand with a confiding little laugh. You know how husbands are, Miss Howard. They make such a fuss over little extravagances like lace and ribbons and gloves, although they spend 2 or 3 times as much on their favourite tobacco and brandy. She trilled another laugh. To be sure, Miss Howard said warmly. Oh, I fully agree with you, your ladyship. It is far better to handle one's own personal accounts oneself. And I am tempted by this charming Valenciennes, Kate went on, although I should like it in black rather than ivory, and I shall require, say 15 yards? She glanced up. Do you have it in black? Mrs. Howard seemed taken aback, but recovered quickly. Not in stock, I'm afraid, your ladyship. That is, not in the shop, but I know where it is to be had. That is, if you wouldn't mind waiting a few days. Oh, not at all, Kate said. In fact, I shouldn't object to paying a little extra for a special order, and paying ahead of time in order to ensure prompt delivery. She paused and touched the delicate lace pensively. And if the price were right, I might also have some of this Maltese guayper. Later, of course, after I've seen the quality of the other laces. Mrs. Howard's frown cleared. Then I shall be delighted to obtain what you want, she said. There was something beseeching about her smile. I cannot say how deeply honoured I am by your patronage, your ladyship. I have hoped that the ladies from the Green, Lady Burne-Jones and Miss Ridsdale, and now Mrs. Kipling, might be enticed to visit my shop and see for themselves that my goods are as fashionable and as any they can purchase in Brighton, perhaps, she added delicately. You would do me the honour of recommending me to them, and to the other ladies of your acquaintance? I shall be more than pleased to do so, Mrs. Howard, Kate said with enthusiasm, and drew forth her purse. And now, shall we reckon up how much I owe you? I promised his lordship that I would shop for a supply of his favourite tobacco this afternoon, although I'm afraid I shall have to disappoint him in such a small village. Oh, but you should ask Mr. Napton across the way, Miss Howard said, picking up her receipt book. I happen to know that he has several very good tobaccos, and is able to obtain others upon notice. Kate beamed as she took out her pound notes. Well then, she said, both lace and tobacco, my little shopping expedition has been quite an amazing success.